morning, everyone. Welcome back. I recently moved into this personal size 6 ring binder and I wanted to help myself organize it a little bit, but I am on a budget. So I'm going to go ahead and make some dividers with tabs, one of which will have a pocket and a folder. And I wanted to show you how I do it. Tools I'll be using today is a 6-hole punch. And I also have a regular hole punch here just in case you don't have one. I'll show you a hack on using a single hole punch to use in a 6-ring binder. I also have a pencil, an X-Acto knife, marker, a couple of rulers, and some double-sided tape. I forgot to show it, but you'll also need some kind of small round object. I'm using a lid as your stencil for the tabs. You'll see what I'm talking about later. For the paper, I'm using the scrapbook paper that I had laying around. The only note I have on the paper is that it needs to be a little bit thicker, otherwise your tabs will warp a lot sooner. So you need some thick, either cardstock or scrapbook paper, whatever you got lying around. I'm going to start on the back side of my paper so that I can make marks a little bit easier without ruining the design of the paper. Here I'm going to mark for the height of my inserts. I'm going to make them 6 3/4 inches tall, making a mark on either side of my page, laying my ruler down, and then I'm just going to go straight in with my X-Acto knife. No need to mark with the pencil on this one. Now we're working on the width of my first insert. I need it to be 3 3/4 inches wide. Here I'm going to mark with my pencil so that I don't cut off the portion I need for my tab. I'm measuring from the top down about a 1/2 inch and then a 1/2 inch out from that pencil line. Then I'm going to take my little lid here and I'm going to use that as my stencil for the shape of my tab. Once I get the lid lined up, I'll come straight in with my X-Acto knife again and I'll cut that tab shape out. And then I'm going to cut off the extra paper around the tab, being sure not to cut through the tab. And that is our first divider and tab done, other than the hole punches. We'll do that later. For our next project, we're going to skip to the third tab. This is going to be the one with the pocket. I'm coming in and measuring my width again, marking the top and the bottom, and then I'm going to mark that line with a pencil. Then I'm going to mark a 1/2 inch from the bottom and then a 1/2 inch to the left of that line that I made, grabbing my lid and again getting it lined up and coming straight in with my X-Acto knife. Now I'm going to fold along that line that I made to make this a little folder essentially, and marking where that fold ends, I'm going to trim off the rest of that paper. Now to make my actual pocket shape, I want it to have a slant in there so it's easier to get things in and out. I have this old pocket that I'm going to use as my template for this because I really like the way that this old one turned out. I just want it to be cuter. I'm also switching the side of the holes to the other side so that my slant is moving away from the rings so that things don't fall out as I'm using the pocket. I'm going to lay it on my sheet here and I'm just going to put lines across both sheets so that I can use that as my guideline, lining up my ruler with it and coming in with my X-Acto knife. Now putting this all together, the only edge we need to worry about is the bottom one. The side edge will be held together with the rings. So I'm just going to take some double-sided adhesive, put a line straight at the bottom, close my little pocket, and we're done with project number 2. For this third project, it's going to be the middle tab. Really, the only difference in this one is that the tab is going to be in the middle. Again, here I'm marking the width of my tab, marking it with a pencil, and then I'm going to use my other 2 tabs as my guideline to get my middle tab centered and just kind of eyeball it. And then I'm measuring a 1/2 inch up from the line that I made, cutting my tab and trimming off the excess. I'm going to go ahead and erase my guidelines and we can move on to hole punching. First, I'm going to show you how to use this single hole punch to punch your holes, and then I'll punch the rest with the 6-hole punch because it's a little bit easier. I have this pre-punched sheet that I'm going to use as my guideline. If you want, you can measure and make yourself a template for this. I'm going to use my marker and just color in where I have those holes on top of the page I want to punch. And when I remove my template, I now have my holes marked and I can punch them with my single hole punch. You can use the same template for as many inserts as you want. Now, when you're using the 6-hole punch, if you're using an adjustable one like this, make sure that you always check to make sure the sizes haven't been shifted at all. I have definitely made that mistake before. For our final project, I'm going to be making a kind of tri-fold folder so that I can keep pages private, or it would work also for a projects folder. I've measured my height and trimmed the page, and now I'm taking a few pages and using them as my guide to determine where I want my fold. And then I'm going to fold it one more time in order to get that tri-fold effect. Now I don't want my top flap to go all the way across, so I'm going to mark my page and trim off the excess so that it'll come closer to the center of my little folder here. And then folding that piece over, I'm going to use my pencil and mark across the page again so that I can tell where I want my tuck tab to be. Now I want my tuck tab to be facing toward the edge of my page. Take my lid and trim my little circle here. Tuck that flap in and voila, you have a little privacy folder. Let's go ahead and hole punch it and we can add it to the others. And we've reached the best part. We get to put it all together. For this folder in the back, it's going to be used primarily for contacts and password pages. I do have printables of these. If that's something you think you could use, I will link the shop in the description. Now we get to add our pocket. This is going to be used, like I said, for maybe some stickers, some receipts, and little bits and bobs that I like to carry around with me. The middle tab is going to mark my daily section, and the front tab is going to mark my planning section. At the end of the day, I feel a lot better about how my planner is functioning. I can flip straight to the section that I want to work in, and I don't have to flip through every single page to get there. I like that my pages in the back here are covered up so that I don't end up flashing them on the internet. I would love to know what your favorite DIY in your planner is. I hope you enjoyed and that you have a wonderful and blessed day. Thank you very much.